Hey, hello, welcome back everybody. So in last video I promised that we will start to have some functionality which allows the user to customize a cat table view and add their own cats. But today I actually want to first talk about something even fancier. So basically how to connect your app to the internet. So this is a really very important feature for all the apps because like basically all of your apps on your phone, they fetch data from the internet and then populate that data, populate their views with those data. For example, your Facebook app, you won't like expect it to store all your like timeline, your friend, in your phone, right? So it's communicating Facebook server and just fetching your data. So now for our own app, we want to actually fetch some data from my own website server. So I activated this path here, which returns a bunch of data encoded in JSON, and JSON is just like a special data format, which is very popular nowadays. So go to our cat class. Want to add a method. So method will be called load cats, and it does not take any parameter, and well, it does not return anything actually. And then inside this function body, we will actually send out an HTTP request to our server here. So let's make it into a class method. Okay, so before this, actually, I want to talk about some basics about computer networking, so you can have a more intuitive understanding of what's actually going on in this method here. So World Wide Web is the most popular applications in computer networking, and the protocol it uses is called HTTP, which stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And there are two types of HTTP packets running around between servers and your personal computers. So one type is called request. So this is like the typical packet your computer will send to Google server, and then the Google server will give your computer back a response. So let's just take a look at what those packets are actually look like. So for example, this is a request packet, and the content of it is something like this. So the first field here is called HTTP method. So if it's get, then it's telling the server to give me back some information, and if it's post, then the request is actually posting some data to the server. So for instance, when you finished filling up a sign up form on a website, and when you click the submit button, then you're sending a request to the server which posts all your registration information to the server, and let it just store that information into its database. And the thing here is a URL of the content you want to fetch. So this is like the locator of this index.html here, and this is the protocol version. This is a host, and these are like just a bunch of HTTP headers. You can like configure them if you want. And yeah, So after you send out the request, the server will give you back a response, something like this. And this is a version, and this is status code. So usually 200 means okay, and 404 means not found, and 301 means document had been moved to somewhere else. And these are also just a bunch of headers, and after after some line break here, we can finally see the real content of this response. So here is just a string of HTML code. So usually the length of this body will be much longer for a normal web page. So and usually if it's a web page, it will be in HTML form. But when we are not fetching a web page but only just some data, it's also possible that the server just gave you back a raw string of JSON. So, okay, what is JSON basically? It stands for JavaScript Object Notation. And it is called in this way because in JavaScript, when you're defining a list or an object, this is the notation you will use. So in JSON, when you want to write a list, you just use open close bracket and write your value here. And when you want to write an object, you just use curly braces and separate your key and values in column. And yeah, you can write another value here, keypad pair here. Okay, so for every value in a list, they should have the same structure, and these two, they don't have to have the same structure because it's an object. So the value here, it can be either another list or another object, and the value here also can be either another list or another object. So JSON is really a very recursive way to notate stuff. Yeah, so here is another sample of JSON. So as you can see, the country list here, since it's a list, all of its elements have all of its elements have the same structure. Although the key here is different, but you can see the value here are different, but the keys are the same. Okay, so that's so much for JSON. Yeah. Anyways. So the reason why we are using JSON as our data format is because it is very popular and is supported by most of the mainstream programming languages, including C++, Java, Python, Object-C, and Swift, of course. So now, yeah. So all of those programming languages, they have their own built-in, not necessarily built-in, but their own libraries which can parse and encode JSON strings. And today we will, of course, use the library provided by Swift. So the first thing first, let's define our URL here. So create our URL using, just initialize it, use a string, and the string will be the path here, actually. So, okay, it already has the protocol written for us. Okay, so the next thing is to create a session. So, well, a session is you can understand it as a connection between your computer and server. And within a session, you can send out a lot of requests. Okay, so let's create a URL session, and we'll initialize it using default configuration. So, okay. And the next thing is to actually create our request. And the request should be a variable because we are going to modify some of its attributes. So let's create a URL request with URL, and we are just initializing it using the URL we define here. And let's set the HTTP. Sorry, I think it should be HTTP. Or I'll just type it HTTP method here to be get, because we're just getting information from our server, and method, and then yeah, okay, I'll unwrap it. So the next thing is to actually create a task. So a task is something that will wrap around our request and actually send out the request for us. So we will run this task in our session. So yeah, create a data task with request and completion handler, actually, because we want to handle the data, basically this JSON string. Our server gives back to us. So fill in the request here and double click this to get our little handler here, and we can name these 3 fields whatever we want. So it is returning us a data and a response and an error. So we can just name it very descriptively, so error. And here in this chunk here, we can do whatever we want to our 3 inputs. So first we will check whether our error is new or not. So if our error is not new, that means we encounter some problem. Let's just print out some useful error message. For example, fail to load cuts. Okay, and then just return. So we'll just jump out of this this method here. Okay, so next step, after we successfully get our data, we want to parse it into an array of dictionary. So let's create a variable result here, and we will use a built-in class called JSON serialization and create some JSON object. So I will create a JSON object with data, and this is a method which might throw us some errors, so actually we have to wrap it in a try statement, and the data will just be the data here, and the options will just get an empty list. Remember, so we have to actually add a question mark here, because our parent method here, it is not something that will throw an error. So so if we don't put this question mark here, we will just directly pass whatever error it gives us back to our parent method, and it actually doesn't know how to handle it. So if we put this question mark here, then every time when we encounter an error, we will just turn it into a new, and then just assign new to our results. Okay, so, and then we want to actually hardcast the whatever. So we actually want to hardcast the result we parsed into an array of dictionary, and then we can manipulate it because we have already told Scode what type it is. Otherwise, we cannot do everything. We cannot do anything to it. Okay. So now we've told Xcode that this result is an array of dictionary. Then we can do a for loop on it. So for each dictionary in our result, we want to add a cat. So well, first of all, we want to load the image represented by this image URL here. So yeah, okay, I'll unwrap this. Okay, so first let's get our image URL. So no, I will use this camel case here. And our URL will let's just initialize URL using string, and the string will just be the image field in our dictionary. Okay, so now we can create our image by creating a UI image object, and we will populate this UI image using data, and the data will be fetched by this URL. So let's see. We will initialize our data object using contents off. So yeah, see here it also throws some error, and we'll have to guard it using try keyword. So should be image URL. Okay, and try here, and here we'll add an exclamation mark because this data here is expecting something that is not optional. So to wrap this. Okay, so the difference between this try and this try here is when this try encounters some error, it will just cause our app to crash. Otherwise, it will just unwrap the data and assign the value to it. So yeah, we'll have to of course unwrap this. So now we have our image. Then we can just add our cat now. So let's call our add cat method, and the name is just yeah. Well, actually, let me copy this. Okay, so for age, we actually have to cast a string into int, and yeah, it's age field. For the image, it's just the image we just got, and for the type, we just use the type field. Okay, I think we're basically done here. Oh, yeah, never forget this last super important statement. So we have created our task, but we never started to execute it. So to do this, just call task.resume. Yeah, only after we call this statement will our task really begin. So, okay, I think we're good. Let's build our app and see the results. Sorry, so actually there's another important thing I forgot to add. We just wrote our method, but we actually never called it. So go back to our main screen view controller, going to the built-in load. So here, instead of like hard coding to cat into our table view, let's actually just call the method we just wrote. So cat dot load cats. Great. And then also actually here, let me print out some message to tell us that we have got our cats. Okay, great. So let's build it again. So honestly, like the kind of internet connection is a part in our app that will give us the most error. So yeah, okay, federal cats, of course. Let's make this console larger. Okay, so it says app transport security has blocked a clear text. Oh, so it's because the content we get from our server is not protected by HTTPS. So our app just thinks it's insecure. There's a way to get around this. Is go to your info plist and let's add a row here and give it a name called app transport security settings. And within this dictionary, let's add actually let's assign the value to allow arbitrary loads to let's change the value to yes and then save. Alright, let's see whether this time it will work. Okay. It still hasn't loaded our cats yet because we haven't seen our message. Okay, great. Got our cats. Now we can go to our table view. Oh, why? There's only one. So, okay, there's I see. It is still like parsing our cats. So, great. Now we have all of them. So let's go into the first one. Yeah. So first, 1 year old American short hair. Let's go to our JSON string. Yeah. So first, American short hair. This is the image and each one, and then we can like check the second. So second, 2-year-old British short hair. So second British short hair and 2-year-old. So great. We are like displaying our cats that we have just fetched from the internet. So cool. And okay, I promise in next video we will start to allow users to add their own cats. Great. Sweet. So see you in the next video.